identifying the problem. In this lesson, we'll be looking at problem identification, with an emphasis on identifying problems in stay, rather than once the guest is checked out. In particular, we'll be focusing on 1. The importance of identifying a problem in stay, and 2. Ways to identify a problem in stay. Let's begin by taking a look at the importance of identifying the problem in stay. We live in a world where social media and the internet mean that instant communication with thousands or even millions of people is possible. 1 in every 5 guests have a problem during their stay, and only about 35% of those guests actually report the problem in stay. Some unhappy guests will report complaints on internet sites such as Facebook or TripAdvisor after they have already checked out, giving us no chance to rectify a situation. This is very unfortunate because that complaint is now at the fingertips of thousands of potential guests, and it could have been prevented if the problem was identified and taken care of in stay. In addition, once guests have checked out, they will be invited to respond to IHG's online guest survey known internally as Heartbeat. There, they can rate how satisfied they were with their overall experience at the hotel and fill in a number of questions about their stay and any issues encountered. By proactively identifying issues before the guest checks out and improving our problem handling skills, the overall experience score can be improved. In fact, for every 6.9 points increase in problem handling scores, the Heartbeat overall experience score can be increased by up to 1 point. If the overall experience score raises over 3 consecutive months, the needle has been moved. Statistics also show that problems rectified in stay result in higher guest satisfaction and loyalty to the brand than a guest without any problems, and these guests are more likely to tell their peers about their great experience. Next, let's look at the ways to identify a problem in stay. Firstly, A. Ask. The best way to be able to identify problems in stay is to know the right questions to ask and communicate consistently with your guests. Asking your guest, as they are leaving the restaurant, "How was your meal?" is a question that leaves you utterly powerless to change anything that they found unsatisfactory. Instead, inspire your fellow colleagues to ask specific questions throughout their meal, such as, "How has the service been so far?" or "Are you enjoying your dessert?" If there was anything amiss, it can be handled right then and there. Our guest will feel amazed at our attention and feel more inclined to report any problems during their stay while they are there, giving us the opportunity to resolve a problem that may otherwise not be reported. As guests check in, use this opportunity to ask them questions regarding the reason for their trip and their preferences. At the appropriate times, for example, not when the guest is checking in at 9 o'clock after a long flight. Asking these kinds of questions is a great opportunity to build rapport and let the guests know that we care and are here to help. Information gathered can also be recorded to their profiles and can be used to delight the guest during their stay. If a rich and bitter espresso is usually the highlight of the guest's meal, you can ask them whether they are enjoying their dessert and whether you can bring them their favorite beverage as a digestif, or if there is anything they need to make their dining experience more enjoyable. This ensures that their expectations are met and satisfied, and that they feel as though what they value is completely cared for. As a team, we need to identify existing touchpoints and opportunities to engage with the guests in every department, including front desk, food and beverage, housekeeping, engineering, sales and marketing, and so forth. We should all proactively interact with our guests and provide solutions while our guests are still at our hotel, because it is the best way to create a memorable experience. Next, B. Communicate. We can conduct courtesy calls to our guests once they have had time to settle in to see whether they are comfortable and satisfied. We should be mindful of the time that we make these calls, and we should never disrupt guests who may be sleeping or resting by calling after 8 or immediately after guests have checked in. Calling our guests, we have an opportunity to identify and rectify any problems that the guest may have experienced at one of the food and beverage outlets. Refer to the Heartbeat Courtesy Call Best Practice, which is available on IHG's Hotel Solutions. Pilot hotels that implemented this saw an average increase of over 3 points in heartbeat. Placing in-room feedback cards for guests to fill out or keycard inserts that highlight possible ways for guests to communicate with the hotel will also provide a channel of communication so that any complaints can be addressed immediately. And finally, C. Check up. If your guest has reported a problem, be sure to check up on their comfort during the remainder of their stay. For instance, if they had complained to you that their coffee at breakfast was cold, the next day you see them, you could ask, "How was your breakfast this morning?" Building relationships with your guests by showing them that you truly care results in higher levels of guest satisfaction, return guests, and brand loyalty. Asking the right questions, no matter in which department you work, is a great example of service culture empowerment because you and your colleagues can own the guest's experience and take responsibility for their satisfaction. In your daily work experience, what are the opportunities that you have to ask your guests about their experiences? Think about this for a few moments. Whenever you can make contact with your guest, whether they have reported a problem or not, and even if you have had no prior contact with them, it is important to do so, as long as it is appropriate and non-invasive. Ask them questions specific to their dining experiences. Empathize with your guest or put yourself in their shoes. This will help you to better understand what they would like out of an IHG experience, so that you can exceed their expectations. Remember, we can all look for opportunities to ask guests the right questions during their stay, rather than only at checkout or instead of only depending on our front office team. To summarize, we looked at 1. The importance of identifying a problem in stay, and 2. Ways to identify a problem in stay. Congratulations on finishing this lesson and learning how to identify problems in stay.